Hello and welcome to the Talking with the Experts online business summit. Get ready to gain invaluable insights from industry leaders, uncover innovative strategies and elevate your business to new heights. Whether you're an entrepreneur, a startup founder or a seasoned professional, this summit is designed for you. Let's unlock your full potential and drive your success. Stay tuned for an exciting lineup of experts ready to share their secrets. Let's get started. Avoid the top 8 business growth mistakes. Manny Skevofilax shares strategies to sidestep common pitfalls and build sustainable success. Now, I want to introduce my next guest, which is who is Manny Skevofilax, and I'll never get the pronunciation of that right, and I'm sure he'll correct me when he comes on. Manny is one of my sponsors of the summit today, and Manny is from Portco CFO Consulting. And I thank him so much for being so generous with his sponsorship today. Now, Manny is a consultant, he's a speaker, he's an author that guides business owners on maximizing profits and overcoming growth challenges. Since 2003, Manny achieves extraordinary outcomes for his clients by using his experience in strategic planning, financial statement analysis, operations, organizational development, and team building. At Baltimore, Maryland, a native, Manny earned a Bachelor of Science in Business and a Master of Science in Finance from the Merrick School of Business at the University of Baltimore. Prior to starting his career as a consultant, Manny's background includes a formal bank credit training and serviced as a vice president at Comerica Bank, a US-based commercial lending institution. My mouth's starting to go dry from all this talking. He has corporate lending experience in the US and continental European markets with specialties in commercial business finance, real estate finance, and large corporate syndicated lending for mergers and acquisitions. Manny, you're there, I know, and waiting to come on. Thank you so much for coming on today, and I look forward to you sharing with us avoiding the 8 growth mistakes as you grow your business.
Rose, I am delighted to be here. Thank you for having me.
It's so lovely to see you again. It's been too long between discussions.
Yes, it has.
Yeah, and so and how's the time and the weather for you today?
It's lovely. It's a fall day here. I'm on the eastern portion of the United States in Maryland, so it's a fall day, but the weather has been lovely. It's been unseasonably warm.
Oh,
So we're very, very blessed.
wonderful. Well, I'll let you get on with your presentation.
Okay. I want to, here we go. Let me see if I can. I didn't want to use slides. So what I did, Rose, is I took this article and everybody can look at it and we can look at it together.
Wonderful.
So my name is Manny Skevofilax. I am a business advisor. I help business owners maximize profits and overcome growth challenges. I have been very blessed. I've had my business for the past 21 years, and my parents were actually born on this picture you see behind me on the island of Carpathos, Greece. And they immigrated to America after World War II and got into the restaurant business. So a beautiful place, but very poor. Imagine having to leave there and go work in a restaurant 18 hours a day. So those lessons shaped my experience. And as I got into my career, I started seeing the same, let's call them missteps or mistakes over and over again as business owners were trying to grow their businesses. And I decided to compile the top 10 or top 8 actually of the mistakes that I would see the most. And I actually wrote a book, as Rose mentioned, called Ultimate Profit Management, Maximizing Profitability as You Grow Your Business. And this is actually one of the chapters in the book where I expand on this topic. So let's get right to it. The first one The first growth mistake that I see time and time again is setting an unreasonable growth goal for your business. And everyone defines reasonable in their own way. So if you have a business that perhaps is conducted online and you're able to pick up, let's just hypothetically say, maybe you can bring on 1,000 customers this month because it's a lot easier for you to onboard than someone else in another business. So if that's the case, then maybe you can grow your business 50% a year, the revenue, or 100% a year. But for some businesses, it might be only possible to do 5 or 10%. The point is, I've seen time and time again that it creates a lot of stress when that business owner just arbitrarily says, you know what, I'm growing this business. I'm going to double this business this year, or it's not worth me getting out of bed. And what we see is it puts a lot of stress on the leadership. It puts a lot of stress on the employees. You and your people can burn out from being overworked. And it's not really a good thing. So the moral of the story here is set a reasonable growth goal for yourself and something that you believe that's achievable. And it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks, as long as it works for you and you're not overstressing yourself and your team. The second one is one of my favorites because unfortunately I still suffer from it. It's called shiny new toy syndrome, or focusing on shiny new toys.
Oh yes, I think we're all guilty of that. We all get a bit led astray, Manny, on those shiny new toys that come around, and we don't focus on what's important.
Thank you, Rose. So I've gotten better over the years, but I can't help it. So this one, if you so you make a plan, you've convinced yourself, you're implementing this plan. Let's say it's a 90-day plan and you're about halfway through it, and then all of a sudden something catches your eye and it distracts you. That shiny toy comes along and you want to go check it out. Unfortunately, what ends up happening is that plan that you spent all that time and effort on and you're halfway through implementing it, it stalls because of your distraction. So I have done my best to stop focusing on the shiny new toys. And I advise my clients, and I'm telling you, it's not easy, but the example that I use is that just do a plan for 90 days and tell yourself, I'm not changing until I get to my 90 days. Now, there's one caveat I like to mention. If you find that this plan has caused your business to become unprofitable or caused you some kind of cash flow crunch, please stop and pivot. It's okay to do it then. So another one that I see often, so business owners have so much going on, putting out fires. There are so many different tasks that a business owner is undergoing every day. One of the most important ones that I saw was they don't stop for, let's just say, 1 hour to review their financial results. And the feedback that I got from my clients is, well, it's boring, Manny. I said, okay, I can understand that. I said, but this is what you're working for. This is why you wanted to have your own business. So convincing that business owner to stop once a month and check in on where they thought they would be. Is the business performing the way you thought it was going to be? This month, this quarter, this year to date? Or is your revenue where you thought it was going to be? Or your profits? So it's a really good way to, and I'm not talking about endless meetings. I'm talking about a 1 hour financial review your P&L, review your balance sheet, review your statement of cash flows, and make it as fun as possible. It'll give you a good feeling. And then most importantly, if any negative trends show up, you'll be able to immediately take action. As opposed to, I've had prospects and clients that they don't look at a financial statement for like 2 or 3 months after the month is closed. So for example, let's say June or July is closed and they're not getting that financial statement till October. And if there was something negatively impacting their results. If they would have looked at their financial in August, let's say, right after the July close, maybe they could have taken some action. So this is always a big one. Check in every month at a minimum. Here's one that there's a lot of pluses and minuses. Hiring and then keeping the wrong people for the job. There has been so much turmoil over the last 4 years since the pandemic. Um, it's really been difficult to get a read on things. You know, over here in the States, we had a massive work from home effort, and all of a sudden now, after all these years, it's getting suddenly flipped, where they say you got to be back to work and in the office, you know, at least 3 or 4 days a week. And by the way, we need you back here in 2 days with not giving the employees notices. And then there's been like a shortage of qualified help across a lot of different industries. So this one it's got a lot of thorns on it. But what I found was hiring and keeping the wrong people for the job. It's your main mission as the leader to ensure that you have the right people on your team. So you have the extra added duty of doing the best you can to make sure that Manny, this new hire, is going to be a good fit, and that I am listening and understanding what you're trying to communicate to me. I found that so many times my clients, the business owners, are not giving clear directions to their employees. And meanwhile, Manny, the employee, is coming into work and he's looking at his boss, Rose, who's smiling at him. And Manny's smiling back at Rose and saying, you know, good morning. And Manny thinks everything's okay. Well, meanwhile, Rose is going, what is this guy doing? Because there's no management of expectations. Rose gave me a raise. She gave me a bonus. In my world, everything's fine. So if you see that Manny is not going to be a good fit, it's important to move quickly, because as a small business owner, you don't have the luxury of having billions of dollars of cash, excess cash in the bank that could cushion, you know, a blow if you needed to take one. So you don't want to micromanage. You just want to simply make sure that you're giving effective communication and it's clear. And if this person is not the right person for the job, you know, with great respect, try to see if you can first redeploy them in your organization into another position, or, you know, in a worst case, you'll have to replace them. So it's a very difficult thing to do because of the emotions involved, but it's been one it's always in the top 5. All right, let's switch over and talk about overhead. It's really difficult for us as human beings because we like to have nice things. So we want to have a nice office. We want the office to look nice. And as you're trying to grow that business, you got to be really careful about the overhead expenses that you're bringing on. And I saw this a lot when I was in banking, where we would go to a customer's office and then that customer was losing money, and we would go into their office and we would be like, gosh, they have a new conference table and new conference chairs. Why would they do that? So you have to be very careful about what you're spending and why you're spending it. And that's going to be a function of how much profit is available in your business to be reinvested. There's going to be a portion that you have to keep in the business in order to grow it. And then the other piece of it, you're taking home to your family. So one of the things that I like to recommend is make an organization chart of your business with all the boxes of all of your team members, and put the total compensation in that box so you can see visually how much do you have invested in Manny. So let's say Manny makes total compensation, which includes the payroll taxes that you're paying and bonuses. So a all-in figure. Let's say you're paying Manny $100,000 a year. Well, you'll have that in the box, and then you'll say to yourself, what did Manny contribute this year? And you'll be able to pretty quickly see whether or not the position is profitable for you. Now, that comes with a couple caveats because some employees don't have direct lines to revenue. They play other roles in your company. But the overall message here is to be very, very careful when you're taking on overhead as you're trying to grow the company. It's a delicate balance. And speaking of delicate balances, lacking sufficient working capital. So I see this every day. I work with fantastic entrepreneurs. They just jump right in, they start the business and they get to it. And it's very impressive to watch. But if you're not keeping track of exactly how much profit you have to reinvest, it could cause you a challenge. So, for example, you're in there, you're hustling, you're making sales, you know it's profitable, but you need X right now to take home, to pay for your mortgage, to pay for the groceries, to pay for your children's education, for their clothing, etc. And maybe at some point you need more than the business is able to pay you, which happens all the time. You need more take home money than the business is able to provide to you right now. So you have to do your best to keep that overhead low enough and resist the urge to, expand the office space if you really don't need to. Get all those, beautiful wooden conference tables and chairs. Anything that is going to strain your limited working capital. And then try to avoid our natural tendency as human beings to spend money that you don't have, because we have very easy access to credit, right? Credit card, it's pretty easy to get. Sometimes, a few years ago, bank loans were very easy to get, although that's changing now. So try to do your best to keep that overhead under control. And what I learned from the senior bankers, what they advised us and advised the client is that you don't have to have the best looking office um, to make clients like you. You have to have the best product, the best service. And that's what really counts. Speaking of those entrepreneurs that like to just dive in and ask questions later, what I see a lot is, hey, I got this new idea. I've already, when are you going to start? Well, I just started it, last month. Okay. But they didn't test the market. So what I'm talking about here is you have a business and let's say you either make a product or provide a service and you want to do the next product or the next service and you didn't do any kind of check. So you didn't go talk to your customers to see the existing customer. Hey, I came up with this idea. Is this something that you could use? What value do you see in this product that I'm considering rolling out? So not testing the market ends up being pretty critical. It could have saved you a lot of time, effort, and capital if you spent a little time to ask first, test that market. But unfortunately, it goes against the entrepreneur's creed, which is to just jump in and let's go for it. And I'm going to make this work. But again, sometimes when you're trying to grow and your capital is limited because you're plowing most of your profit back into the business, it's very important to do the best you can to test first. Test first. And then going hand in hand with that is underpricing your product or your service. This one is a challenge because we want to make sales and we feel like everyone is driven by price. That, if I had a lesser price or a lower price, I could sell more, right? So we've got economics, peeking its head in here. Well, the thing is that over time, I was taught this, that when you underprice, let's talk about the example of a service company. When you underprice your service, it actually gives off a lower perception of value. So I don't know if you've seen those memes that say you get what you pay for, and there's like an ornate wood carved horse, that you had to pay some craftsman, a ridiculous amount of money to hand carve. And then there's the cheaper one, which is just a replica of a horse that's hung on the staircase. And it's important because what I was taught was you can't get that money back. So if you continue to underprice, let's say over a 10-year period, it's a significant amount of money that you'll never get back. So it is really important to first and foremost learn what your value is in your market, because all markets are different, and then proceed to learn how to market and present yourself to be able to get your value. And the other piece that was taught to me and drilled over and over again in my head was about commodities. Try to stay away from commodity businesses because they're low barriers to entry. Everybody can get into them, and they're all competing on price. And the lesson that I was taught was playing in with commodities is a race to the bottom. So it doesn't happen fast. It's much better to just take your time, grow at your pace, and stay consistent. And I'd like to see if there's any questions that I could answer.
Manny, great presentation. Thank you so much. I just wanted to ask you about, hiring the right people. Often, we think at the interview stage, we think and we believe that we've hired that right person. How do we, work out, and you did say, redeploy them to some other place, but what if they're really not a good fit even after the interview stage, and you've worked with them a little while? Would it be better just to terminate them, or would you try to redeploy them in the first instance?
Yeah, great question, Rose. If I heard you correctly, if you've interviewed and you didn't get a good feeling, I think you should terminate instead of waiting.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, some people interview really well, they portray that they are a good fit for your business, but then they come into the business, they've worked there for a little while, and you find that perhaps they weren't as good a fit as what they portrayed themselves to be. What would you do in that instance?
yeah, that's a difficult one. Let me ask you to educate me. Over here, what we do in America is we have a 90-day probationary period. So,
Yeah, we're
um,
the same here. I think
you have
there's
a similar one? Okay. So to your point, if they get through the interview process and you quickly see that it's not going to happen, one of the things you could do is a performance improvement plan to try to see is, make sure that you're completely clear that this employee is not performing up to satisfaction. And if not, I mean, as difficult as it is, Rose, you make an excellent point. It's best to terminate early if it's not a mutual fit, because that
yeah.
employee's not going to feel good either.
Yeah, that's true. You do have the opportunity in that 90-day grace period, but I have worked with people who've interviewed well. They've muddled through the 90-day probationary period, and then all of a sudden their work just falls off, but for whatever reason, and they're not really a good fit, personality wise or work ethics wise or whatever. So what would you do in that instance?
Uh, I would terminate them.
Hmm.
I
Yeah, I
mean,
agree. I would do that too, but you know, there are a couple of questions here in the chat. Is there a certain nice way you can terminate someone? Basically, how do you terminate them?
just be direct, open, honest, and kind. Rose, thank you very much for your service. This is not going to work for us long term, and we don't need your service anymore.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Dispassionate, unemotional. It's a very sensitive topic. It's not fun, but it beats Rose and the employee having to go through heck every day because it's not a good fit, and it's ultimately going to hurt the business.
Yeah. Oh,
So,
absolutely. No, I agree with you. I mean, I that's what I would do. I would terminate them, but I'm thinking of others that may not like that process. And how do they get through that, especially if they've not terminated
oh,
it before?
no, nobody likes the process, if I may be so bold. It's very, it's not, there's nothing good about the process.
No,
Um,
no, I
there's
agree.
nothing good about it. However, it must be done because what we found is, and this was after a long period of time, I didn't come up with any of this. I was taught this. It creates so much chaos and so much stress, and it's magnified in the small business. Okay. In a business that has 100,000 employees, they say that 20% of the employees do 80% of the work, and you can hide. In a small business, if you're not performing, you can't hide. There's nowhere to hide, you know. Thank you. This is not going to work, and we no longer require your service.
Yeah,
Say it as
absolutely.
kind and empathetic as you can.
Yeah. And the other question was, how do you select the right prices for your products? This person sells, uh, makes greeting cards and bracelets. So how would they, select the right pricing?
I mean, excellent question. So I always start to see if you can play in the premium market. So what would make somebody want to pay? What would make your bracelet so special that they would want to pay extra for it, right? So do you have that? Somebody would want to pay more for um, a Kylie Kardashian bracelet they would than they would want to pay for a Manny Skevofilax bracelet. Why is that? It's because there's higher perceived value with Kylie. So when you look at your bracelet, so look at the market that you're playing, and that'll be the first place to start. What kind of bracelet is it? Let's say it's, a seashell bracelet. What is special about that you could try to get some type of a premium on it? Same thing with the greeting cards. What would be special? So you're selling the value. My greeting cards are made of, let's just say, 95% recyclable material. That might push somebody to want to pay a little extra for your greeting card versus my greeting card because it has that extra added benefit, even though it might say happy birthday on the front of both. So sell the value. And then I don't think there's any such thing, in my opinion, as the right price. You've got to constantly experiment, but you got to think about it before you make the moves and take your time, think it through because you don't want to be yo-yoing up and down on price. People don't like to buy something and then, you know, a month later they find it that they paid 50% more because it's on sale or something like that. So you have to be very careful. So
Yeah, I
try to
agree.
see what extra value can you associate with your greeting cards and your bracelets? And can you get the customer to want to pay for it?
Yeah, and I think too, do your market research. Look at the the same types of items that you're making. See what the market is selling theirs for, and then and as Manny said, add the value that you believe that it's worth. Because if it's made of something special that no one else is doing, add that um, value to it. But I don't think there's there's no percentage. Really, it's not a percentage based thing. It's just what you believe that your item is worth based on what market value is.
Yeah, it's very well said, Rose.
Oh, thanks.
Mhm.
Manny, where can people find you if they want to work with you?
On my website, please, Portal CFO, PORTALCFO.com.
Yeah, you can find Manny also on Facebook and on LinkedIn. And you've got a book, The Ultimate Profit Management. Can you tell us a little bit about your book and where they can find it, Manny?
Yes, I take the 10 points that I kept seeing over and over again, where I could say, gosh, I know how this movie ends. And I was fortunate enough to get a publisher to want to publish it. So it's Ultimate Profit Management, maximizing profitability as you grow your business. It is a fun read because I don't like boring. I made sure it's fun. It's got a lot of real world examples that my teachers and mentors taught me, and it's available on Amazon.
Wonderful. Manny, it has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you so much for sponsoring this event. I really warms my heart to think that people, want to spend their hard-earned money in sponsoring the summit.
My pleasure, Rose. And I enjoyed being here. Thank you for the opportunity.
All right. We'll talk again soon, Manny. Thank you so much.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us at the Talking with the Experts Online Business Summit. I'm Rose Davidson, and it's been an honour to host this incredible event. We hope you found the insights and strategies shared by our esteemed speaker valuable. Remember, your journey to success doesn't end here. Keep applying what you've learned, stay connected with our community, and continue to push boundaries of your business. Until next time, keep thriving and striving for excellence. Goodbye, and see you at our next summit.